Welcome to Private Stories, where people discover who they really are. My name is Ethan Brooks, and I am 34 years old. 6 months ago, I would have described my life as steady, not flashy, not tragic, just dependable in a way that made breathing easier. I worked as a senior data analyst for a healthcare company in Seattle, earned a comfortable salary, paid my bills on time, and lived in a quiet 2-bedroom apartment overlooking a narrow strip of water that turned silver at sunset. My dishwasher hummed to life every night at exactly 12:01 to catch the lower electricity rates. Every Sunday evening my budgeting software refreshed automatically. Charts realigned, forecasts updated, neat columns assuring me that everything in my world remained under control. That spreadsheet was not just numbers, it was gravity. Something that kept my feet on the ground when everything else felt uncertain. At the center of that carefully balanced life was my fiancée, Victoria Hale. Victoria was the kind of woman people noticed before she even spoke. Tall, poised, sharp cheekbones, dark hair that fell in a glossy wave over one shoulder. The kind of presence that made waiters stand straighter and strangers move aside without realizing why. She was a corporate attorney at a prestigious firm downtown, the kind of job that came with glass offices, late nights, and a reputation polished as hard as marble. She called herself driven. Her colleagues called her unstoppable. I called her my future wife. We had been together a little over 3 years and engaged for 4 months. We met at a professional conference when I was 31 and she was 32. She was presenting on regulatory risk. I was there to talk about predictive modeling. We joked that between the two of us we could drain all joy from a party in under 10 minutes just by mentioning compliance. But we clicked immediately. Same dry humor, similar middle-class childhoods, both claiming we wanted stability more than drama. After a year, we moved in together. Last spring, she took me to an upscale rooftop restaurant, the kind with heaters glowing like amber lanterns and a skyline that looked almost unreal. She slid a velvet box across the table, eyes steady, confident, as if she were closing a deal rather than proposing. Inside was a platinum ring that caught the light and fractured it into tiny sparks. "Will you marry me, Ethan?" I said yes without hesitation, with relief, with joy, with the certainty that this was what adulthood was supposed to look like. We set a wedding date for early November. Shared folders filled with contracts and invoices. Color palettes, seating charts, venue tours. On paper, it was flawless. But about 2 months ago, something changed. Not dramatically, not all at once. More like the faint ticking sound a house makes before you realize something inside the walls is shifting. It began with comments about my career. "Have you ever thought about moving into management?" She asked one night while scanning emails on her tablet. "You are talented enough to lead a whole department by now." "I like what I do," I said with a small laugh. "I already work late half the week." "Yes, but do you not want more?" She said it lightly, but there was a tightness around her mouth, as if my contentment were personally inconvenient. Other times it was about social circles. "Most of the partners in my firm are married to surgeons or founders," she mentioned at a networking reception, swirling her wine without looking at me. "People who are building something massive. You are stable, which is good, just different. Nothing openly cruel. Just small remarks that settled into the corners of my mind like dust. Easy to ignore until one day you inhale and feel it scratch your lungs." I told myself she was under pressure. Big cases, long hours, an environment where worth was measured in billable hours and prestige. I tried not to take it personally. 3 weeks before everything collapsed, we attended her colleague Daniel's engagement party. It was lavish in that effortless way only very expensive things can appear. Soft live music, champagne that tasted like citrus and smoke, floral arrangements so elaborate they looked like they had their own assistants. Victoria moved through the room as if it belonged to her. Her hand rested at the small of my back, warm, guiding, steering me from conversation to conversation. At one point, she introduced me to a senior partner she clearly admired and his impeccably dressed husband. I smiled politely. "Hi," I said. "I am Ethan and this is my fiancée Victoria." The word still felt bright in my mouth. Fiancé. Later in the car she spoke without looking at me. Could you not do that? Do what? Introduce me like that. Like what? As your fiancé. That is what you are, I said, genuinely confused. It just sounds strange. She muttered. Like you are announcing it, staking a claim. We are engaged, Victoria. That is literally the point. Her jaw tightened. Forget it, I am tired. I let it drop, filed it away as stress and too much champagne. But the word claim lodged somewhere in my chest like a splinter you cannot quite reach. 2 nights later we had dinner with some of her old law school friends. Long table, dim lighting, very serious wine, conversations revolving around cases, promotions, real estate. Eventually someone turned to me with a polite smile. So how did you two meet? I felt that familiar quiet pride. Victoria is my future wife, I said. We are getting married in November. The silence lasted less than a second, but it was there. Then conversation resumed, louder, faster, as if filling a gap. Victoria did not look at me. On the drive home she exploded. I asked you not to introduce me like that. My stomach dropped. Like what? As your future wife. That is exactly what you are. She let out a short, humorless laugh. It makes me look like I settled. For a moment I thought I had misheard. The word settled echoed in my head like something fragile shattering. You think marrying me makes you look like you settled. That is not what I meant. Then what did you mean? You are twisting my words. You said it makes you look like you settled. How else am I supposed to interpret that? She exhaled sharply. I am saying you do not need to broadcast it. Most people in my circle are with high achievers, CEOs, surgeons, people who match their trajectory. You are good, Ethan, you are reliable, but you are not exactly ambitious on that level. When you highlight the engagement, it emphasizes the difference. The difference that you are marrying someone beneath you. I did not say beneath me. You did not have to. Silence filled the car. No apology. No correction. Just the sound of tires on asphalt and my pulse hammering in my ears. That night she went straight to bed. I stayed in the living room, staring at the dark television screen reflecting my own face back at me. Every small comment replayed in brutal clarity. Do you not want more? You are stable. You are good. Good. The word people use when something works but does not inspire anyone. Around midnight I opened my laptop. Not to my budget files this time, but to our shared calendar. Events stacked across the next few months, galas, weddings, brunches, fundraisers, dinners where I was apparently the accessory that made her look like she had compromised. My name sat beside hers as a default +1. One by one I removed myself, sent polite notes to hosts apologizing for the change, kept everything professional, breezy, unremarkable. Nothing dramatic, just no longer attending. Then I opened a new message and typed a name. Marcus Reed, Victoria's closest friend, one of the few people in her world who had ever spoken to me like I mattered beyond my job title. Hey Marcus, I wrote, I could really use your help with something for Sunday brunch. My hands were shaking, not from fear but from a strange, steady clarity. Within minutes he replied, Tell me what you need. We made a plan. The brunch was scheduled at one of those fashionable places in downtown Bellevue where the lighting is soft enough to forgive everything and the mimosas never stop coming. Victoria's circle loved places like that. Polished wood tables, minimalist decor, servers who spoke in calm, measured tones as if nothing in the world could possibly be urgent. Before anyone arrived, Marcus would place an envelope at her seat. Inside would be a letter from me and a printed confirmation that our wedding venue reservation had been canceled. Not postponed. Canceled. Saturday morning Victoria behaved as if nothing had happened. She moved through the apartment in her silk robe, hair perfectly brushed, discussing centerpieces and seating arrangements as though she had not told me I made her look like a consolation prize. Did you confirm our RSVP for Allison's shower? She asked while pouring espresso into a porcelain cup. About that, I said calmly I canceled mine. She froze mid-movement. What? I will not be attending. Because you said you are embarrassed to be introduced as my fiancé. I figured you would prefer to go alone. Avoid the whole settled narrative. Her jaw tightened. Ethan, do not be ridiculous. I am not, I said quietly. I am respecting your wishes. She stared at me as if trying to decode a language she had never heard before. You are really not coming Sunday. No, but you should go. There will be something waiting for you. Her eyes narrowed. What is that supposed to mean? You will see. I took my coffee into the living room and opened my laptop. For the first time since building my financial models, I understood that the most important calculation was not money. It was self-respect. If Victoria sensed something was wrong that weekend, she did not show it. Or maybe she did. Tiny flickers of unease behind her composed expression. But she buried them beneath the same confidence she used to bury everything uncomfortable. Saturday afternoon, she tried a different approach. An apology that was not quite an apology. Ethan, she said, following me down the hallway about the other night. I did not mean it the way it sounded. I kept folding laundry. How did you mean it? She hesitated. I just do not like labels being thrown around constantly. It feels performative. We are engaged, Victoria. It is not performative to state a fact. You are taking it out of context. I heard the context. I folded a towel with deliberate precision. You said I make you look like you settled. Her expression hardened. You are twisting my words again. Then clarify them. Tell me exactly what you meant. She opened her mouth, closed it, looked away. That silence said more than anything she could have said. By evening her tone shifted again. Softer, almost pleading. She sat beside me on the couch with an unfamiliar gentleness. Ethan, please, can we just go to brunch tomorrow and forget all this? No. At least come with me. It will look strange if you are not there. There it was. Not concern for me. Concern for appearances. That is exactly why I am not going, I said. She did not respond. We went to bed in silence. I did not sleep. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, feeling something inside me slowly unwind. Not anger, not grief. Something closer to release. Like realizing a door had been unlocked the entire time and I was finally willing to walk through it. Sunday morning, Victoria hovered near the entrance dressed in a tailored ivory blouse and navy blazer. Every inch the accomplished attorney. You are really not coming, she asked one last time. No. Have a good brunch, Victoria. She looked confused, annoyed, slightly unsettled. Then she left. The moment the door closed behind her, the apartment felt different. Lighter. At 11:08 a.m. my phone buzzed. Marcus. She is here. Envelope is in place. At 11:12. She opened it. At 11:13. Ethan, her face just went completely pale. I stared at the screen, heart steady. No triumph. No guilt. Only clarity. At 11:20 my phone rang. Victoria. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. And again. At 11:27 Marcus sent one final message. She left the restaurant without saying anything. She is heading home. I had already made tea and was sitting calmly on the couch when I heard keys fumbling at the door. Victoria burst inside, the envelope crushed in her hand. What the hell is this? A cancellation confirmation, I said. You canceled our wedding venue without discussing it with me. Her voice cracked on the last word. Shock. Humiliation. A trace of panic she could not quite hide. You said being engaged to me makes you look like you settled. I decided to remove that burden. You cannot just cancel the wedding. I did not cancel the wedding. I canceled the venue. The wedding itself is also off. Her breathing quickened. You are ending our engagement over one comment. I stood slowly. It was not one comment. It was months of you making me feel like I was something you tolerated instead of chose. That is not fair. Really. Then tell me what you meant. Why does introducing you as my future wife make you feel diminished? She swallowed. I said it badly. You said it honestly. She threw the envelope onto the table. Do you know how this makes me look? I felt something inside me go completely still. There it was again. How she looked, not how I felt. That is exactly why I am ending this, I said softly. She began pacing, running a hand through her hair in agitation. What am I supposed to tell people, my colleagues, my family? The truth, that you did not want to be introduced as someone's future wife because it made you feel like you were settling. Her face drained of color. You told them. Marcus told them after you walked out. Her voice broke with something close to betrayal. You humiliated me. You humiliated me for months. The difference is mine was honest. She stared at me as if seeing a stranger. Maybe she was. Pack a bag, I said quietly. You should stay somewhere else for a few days while we sort out the lease. She did not move at first. Just stood there, stunned. Now, Victoria. Finally she turned, grabbed a suitcase, and began stuffing clothes into it without folding. At the door she stopped and looked back. You will regret this. No, I said calmly, I will not. The door closed behind her. The silence that followed felt earned. The next afternoon my phone rang while I was reorganizing a kitchen drawer that suddenly felt like it belonged to someone else. Hello. Ethan, dear, a gentle familiar voice said. It is Victoria's mother. I closed my eyes for a moment. Hi, Mrs. Hale. Victoria called us very upset. She continued softly. She said you ended the engagement and overreacted to something she said. Of course she did. Did she tell you exactly what she said? I asked quietly. Pause. She said you misunderstood. No, I said gently. She told me that introducing her as my future wife made her look like she had settled. She said I was not impressive enough for her social circle. That marrying me did not match her trajectory. Silence. Long, heavy silence. Then a shaky exhale. Oh, Ethan, I am so sorry. That is not how you treat someone you love. No, it is not. Is there any chance you two could work through this? I thought about the months of shrinking myself to fit into her world. No, I said finally. I gave her plenty of time. She showed me who she is. I understand, Mrs. Hale said quietly. For what it is worth, you deserve someone who is proud to stand beside you. After we hung up, I sat alone in the quiet apartment. It was not the future I had planned, but it was the first one that felt entirely mine. 3 weeks passed and life rearranged itself in practical, unsentimental ways. Forms filled out. Accounts separated. Closets emptied with the dull thud of hangers dropping into cardboard boxes. There was nothing cinematic about it. Just administrative reality. Victoria and I communicated only through short messages about logistics, utilities, lease transfer, the joint credit card she had insisted we open because it would look more cohesive when applying for a mortgage. All of it slowly unwound. By the end of the first week, she had moved into a corporate apartment near her office. By the end of the second, she secured a sleek condo across the city. Modern, expensive, cold, filled with furniture that looked chosen for photographs rather than comfort. She emailed me her forwarding address. No personal note. No how are you. Just information. But the silence never held. Because between logistical messages she tried to pull me back. Long texts appeared at odd hours. Paragraphs swinging wildly between defensiveness and apology. Ethan, please talk to me. You are blowing this out of proportion. I did not mean it like that. I cannot lose what we had. I know I hurt you. I can fix this. I responded once. It is over. Please respect my decision. Instead of respecting it, she escalated. Near the end of the second week, she texted that she had started therapy. At first, I assumed it was a tactic. Victoria was not the type to seek help unless it served a clear purpose. Then she sent a photo of a therapist's business card. I am working on myself, she wrote. I realize my comments came from insecurity, not from anything lacking in you. I stared at the message for a long time. Maybe she was telling the truth. Maybe she was finally seeing the cracks beneath her polished exterior. But insight after the fact does not erase the impact. You can forgive someone and still refuse to return to the fire. I set the phone down without replying. Reactions from our social circles arrived in predictable waves. Some of her colleagues sent carefully worded messages. "Are you sure you want to throw this away?" Everyone says things they regret when stressed. I ignored them. Others, especially the women in her circle and definitely Marcus, were far less diplomatic. Marcus called me 4 days after the brunch. No greeting, just straight to the point. "Okay, so half the table thinks Victoria got what she deserved, and the other half thinks you detonated a bomb in a restaurant." "I did not detonate anything," I said. "I told the truth." "Exactly," he replied, "which is more honesty than she has shown in months." He paused, voice softening. "I noticed the way she spoke about you before all this. Little comments, always framing you as safe instead of impressive. You were not imagining it. That should not have comforted me. But it did. There were financial consequences too. The venue refunded 60% of the deposit. Seeing the loss in writing stung. But compared to the cost of marrying someone who viewed me as a downgrade, it felt like a bargain. Other deposits followed. Photographer, catering reservation, a band Victoria insisted on because everyone in her firm used them. Some money returned, some gone forever. Each cancellation email felt like reclaiming a piece of oxygen. Then one evening I found a handwritten envelope slipped under my door. I knew instantly it was from her. Victoria's handwriting was unmistakable, elegant, precise, almost architectural. I held it for several minutes before opening it. For pages, she wrote about growing up in a family where success was currency, where dinner conversations revolved around rankings, promotions, acquisitions, where her father once told her that image was everything and meant it literally. She admitted she believed being with someone visibly impressive would validate her own worth. She admitted she projected that pressure onto me. Then she wrote, "I was not ashamed of you. I was ashamed of myself. I am sorry for making you feel small because I felt small." I read it twice, maybe 3 times, then placed it in my nightstand drawer and closed it. Because the truth was simple. Understanding after the damage does not undo the damage. Regret does not rewind time. Apologies do not refill what has been drained. I had felt diminished for too long for words to repair. A week later, I ran into one of her colleagues at a grocery store. A woman named Allison who had invited us to her bridal shower. She approached cautiously. "How are you holding up?" "I am okay," I said honestly. She nodded. "I just wanted to say I am sorry. I never realized how dismissive Victoria could be until Marcus explained everything. You deserve someone who introduces you with pride, not like an obligation." Her words echoed for hours afterward. Yes, that was exactly it. Someone proud, not someone who treated me like a compromise. I realized then that I did not miss Victoria. I missed the version of her I thought existed, the woman I believed she could be, but not the one who told me I made her look like she had settled. That woman I was finally leaving behind. For months passed, seasons shifted, paperwork finalized. The last joint account closed with a sterile confirmation email that felt oddly ceremonial. Every invisible thread connecting us was cut one by one, until nothing remained but an echo. I had not seen Victoria since the day she carried that overpacked suitcase out of the apartment. Not intentionally, not properly, but life has a way of arranging encounters when you least expect them. It happened on a Thursday morning at a small coffee shop near my office. Early enough that the crowd was thin, late enough that the city outside had already started humming. I had just ordered my usual drink, black coffee, no sugar, when I heard my name behind me. Soft, uncertain, almost disbelieving. "Ethan." I turned. Victoria stood a few steps away. For a moment everything narrowed, the noise of the cafe fading into a distant blur. Then reality snapped back into place. She looked different. Not worse. Just heavier somehow. Her hair was a little longer, not styled with the same surgical precision. There were faint shadows under her eyes that no makeup could completely hide. She was not wearing one of her immaculate power suits. Just a charcoal sweater and dark jeans, clothes chosen for comfort rather than impact. She looked human. "Hi," she said quietly. "Hi. You look well." "Thank you. You too." It was a polite lie. She did not look well. She looked tired. We stood there like strangers who shared a secret life no one else could see. "How have you been?" she asked. "Good," I said honestly. "You?" She nodded vaguely, trying to figure some things out. I did not ask what. I did not need to. Silence stretched between us. Not hostile, not tense, just empty, like a hallway between two closed doors. When the barista called my name, I stepped forward, took my cup, then turned back to her. "Take care of yourself, Victoria." Her eyes flickered, something soft and fragile moving behind them. "You too," she said. I walked past her and out into the morning sunlight. I did not look back. And in that moment, I knew something fundamental had shifted. I was free. That afternoon, she texted. "It was good to see you. You look happy." "I am glad." I read the message once, then locked my phone. Not out of anger, not out of cruelty. There was simply nothing left to say. My life slowly filled with things that belonged only to me again. Evenings with friends I had drifted from, spontaneous plans, weekend hiking trips, signing up for a boxing class on a whim, buying a motorcycle because I had always wanted one and finally did not have to justify it. I remembered what it felt like to move through the world without adjusting myself to someone else's expectations, to breathe without calculation. The biggest change was not the absence of Victoria. It was the absence of constant self-doubt. Her voice no longer echoed in my head telling me I could be more impressive, more ambitious, more worthy. Now there was only my own voice, and it was kinder. A few weeks later, I met my older sister for lunch. She had always been direct to the point of bluntness. "Do you ever think about reaching out to her?" she asked while stirring iced tea. "Closure or whatever." I shook my head. We already had closure. A brunch. She raised her eyebrows. "Damn, that was brutal." "It was not brutal," I said. "It was honest." She needed to understand why I was done. My sister studied me for a long moment. "You seem lighter." "I am." Marcus and I stayed in occasional contact. Every so often he would send a message after seeing Victoria at some event. One evening he texted, "Ran into her tonight. She asked about you." I did not respond immediately. Another message followed. I told her it is not her business anymore. She had someone good and made him feel small. Let him move on. I stared at the screen longer than I expected. I had not realized how much I needed to hear that. As the 4th month came to an end, I found myself reflecting not on the pain but on the pattern. Victoria's comment about settling was not an isolated moment. It was a revelation, a crack that exposed the structure underneath. She had built a vision of what her life should look like, and I did not fit it. Instead of questioning the vision, she tried to reshape me, or hide me, or minimize me so I would occupy less space in her carefully curated world. And I had begun to shrink to fit. That realization frightened me more than the breakup itself, because that was not love, not partnership, not a life. I was not meant to be someone's quiet proof of success, not meant to be introduced with hesitation, not meant to feel like a downgrade. I was meant to be chosen fully, proudly, without apology, by someone who saw steadiness as strength, contentment as confidence, someone who saw me. My name is Ethan Brooks. I am 34, single, living in an apartment that finally feels entirely mine. And I have learned something irreversible. Being alone is infinitely better than being with someone who makes you feel small. The truth is simple. Victoria did not settle by choosing me. She was never worthy of me in the first place. Thank you for watching this video to the end. Visit our channel for interesting and intriguing stories.